It's gonna be a 50-50 shot if I just start spilling coffee everywhere. Well, yep, I spilled coffee on myself, so this is gonna be a fun video. Hey guys, I thought we would do another kind of morning coffee talk. So you guys saw I made my coffee, spilled my coffee on myself because I overfilled it, but yeah. I do that all the time. If you give me a pour over, it's gonna be a 50-50 shot if I just start spilling coffee everywhere. Really annoys my dad because I only ever have pour over when at home. A while back, I ended up picking up this magazine just to build up healthy habits. I thought it would be a good thing for me to kind of read over and have something to read that isn't academic papers, because you guys saw I was mostly reading academic papers. And this seemed like a good thing where it was going to be easier reads. It was still productive and I felt like I was doing something, but I was also taking care of myself. And one of the articles they had was this one about, they kind of referred to it as Road Trip at a Glance, Highway to Happiness. But I've been thinking about this because I know generally I shouldn't explicitly just put getting my PhD as the sole source of my happiness. I have to find happiness in other things, or else I will be greatly disappointed when I get to that, the finish line. But I was thinking about it, and they had a lot of information about the steps to kind of take and reflecting on it. So I thought I'd go over kind of what they talked about and what I think for my own process I need to do. Because first things first, they kind of just go how will you make it fun? And they had some of the practical questions, what's the time that you want to arrive on your road trip, as they call it, which is just, for me, this is this road to getting my PhD. Hell, I used to have a video series called Road to PhD, but things got a little crazy, and doing weekly vlogs is not something I particularly like doing, as I realized. But the big thing with that is, as you guys saw, I want to finish, my aggressive goal is finishing April 27th of 2024. I humorously I'm if I need to, I'll push it back to late September, because then when the friends and the family come for my defense, because I want them to come to the defense. Graduation is all fine and dandy to see me get hooded, but the defense is where I want people to come and listen, because that is the actual effort I put in. The effort I put in is on that defense. It's the thing I've spent years of my life focusing on. I want them to listen to that. I want to listen to them hear me speak thoughtfully about what I'm so passionate about, not just watching my advisor put a hood on me and watch everybody else graduate. That's not the thing that for me is the biggest push. But I was thinking, if I do late September 2024, then they get to see Kentucky as it's starting early fall, which is so beautiful. And if it pushes to late September, early October, they can even go to Keeneland, which is the major horse track here. Yeah, am I gonna this is practically making it like a wedding. So the defense is a weird combination between wedding and baby. I do plan at some point once I get closer to finishing, doing a maternity shoot with my dissertation, because that is my baby. And the thing is, how long? And I've already been going on this route for 3 years. I've only been doing work that I this explicit work since for about 2 years now, because originally I was on kind of a different project in that first semester. Especially I was here at UK, I was just focused on getting kind of back into the swing of grad school. But I've been at this grad school process for 3 years, specifically on this project for like 2, which is absolutely crazy to think I've dedicated 2 years of my life to this already. And I've got another year, and just, gosh, are there going to be a lot of delays? And the thing is, there are going to be delays. Tests may take longer to run. I have tests that can take 9 days to run, and I've got some of those running right now, actually. And the thing is, like, if there are things I really want to research that are just going to take longer, or papers are taking forever, because that's still a thing. And then trying to find a job. The comment is oftentimes with grad school is you do not leave grad school until you have a job. That's just a safety factor with everything, is you want to make sure you have a job lined up for yourself before you end up like setting a defense date. Maybe that's a thing, is I give myself the summer to look for the jobs, and I don't defend until the spring, or summer or fall, but whatever season it is. Before that, I end up like getting things done much earlier, which I think is would be a good way of doing it, because then if I get most of it done beforehand and I can work on polishing things up while I look for jobs, it's nothing but a win-win. I'm not trying to talk myself out of that, April. The other thing is, so what are the costs? And there have been a lot already, I guess, because like you don't get paid a lot. I still get paid decently compared to other grad students, but the thing is, it's a lot of cost, and just being kind of in this like gray region, like you're in limbo with kind of your maturity and growth, because you're still in this mindset of school, which I've been in for the past 20 years. Oh God. Yeah. 20 years now, which is okay. I didn't need to think about that. I didn't need to think that I've been in some form of school, actually over that, because I was in preschool and everything at like 3. But yeah, I've been in a very structured school setting for like 20 years come this September, when I would have started kindergarten. Like there's just this thing of, there is no true off time anymore, especially because grad school, things don't end with the summer. You're still doing research, you're still doing work. But yeah, it's that. I've gotten a lot of grace. It's the reason why I dyed my hair this color, like I go with this like balayage look. I keep on looking at my bangs and they're so rough this morning. I've gotten a lot of grace, and I started graying at 18, so nothing too surprising, but gotten more. I have periods of time where I sleep a lot or I don't sleep at all, and I probably have a mental illness that I need to go to the doctor about, but because I'm on university healthcare, it's a lot harder to get some of these like services because they don't let you set it up online. The other question just generally that they asked was, is this a lone journey? And I'm like, yes and no. Ultimately, all of those steps I have to do in some way by myself. I've got my advisor there, who so much of it was like learning how to ride a bike, where especially in those early days he was holding my hand on a lot of these things and kind of having me work through it. But now that I've gotten further along into the whole process, I definitely do things on my own. I go to him when I have an idea for things, and we talk it through, we work things out. But I'm doing this myself on this, like, okay, this is what next step I want to do, which I'm really happy about. That means I've definitely grown as a student, and a researcher, that I can at least start things off kind of by myself. The thing is, I have friends and family who are all here helping support me, but yeah, the day-to-day I am by myself, and that's just the case. That's just the nature of the project. And then getting more into what they had written for this thing, I have the notes that I wrote out, but they had my road trip at a glance, so I kind of just took what was in the prompts and expanding more on just those initial questions, because they have the things like, okay, when you're at your destination, how are you going to feel? Like, are you going to feel accomplished or whatnot? And I'm like, I definitely feel excited. I know I'll feel like a weight has been lifted off of me, and happy. I do fear that it will be somewhat anticlimactic, because I would have put so much emphasis on this work that once I get to that point, I'm going to just feel like, what's next in my life? Because this is a huge milestone for my life, and that it just is kind of this thing of like, oh, where do I go from here? I know I'll feel so happy, excited. The day of, I'll probably be shaking like a leaf the entire time, but just that like relief also. The fact that for like a week I'll be able to just like sleep, because I mean that's what I was able to do with my qualifier. So how is that any different than now? And the thing is, I like haven't been regretting the journey, like not at all. It's been something where it really has pushed me, and I have learned so much that I don't think I would have ever learned if I just gone straight into industry. And the thing is, when you go into industry, like, yeah, you can go back for your PhD, but there are not as many people who go from industry back to getting their PhD. Routes. In this case, they were asking things like, what specific next steps do you need to do to reach your destination? And I kind of looked at it both of like, okay, there are things like there are plots that I explicitly need to finish like next week. Need to get those done. And actually, I may even just do them on Sunday. I'm recording this on Saturday. Just do them on Sunday, so Monday I can go to my meeting with my boss and I'll be like, I have done this. And then other tasks, like, again, maybe do this thing of write a paragraph every day. And in this case, I need to like write a checklist to be like, okay, you've written for today, you've written for like each of these days, so that I can build up this habit, because I keep on just wanting to do the work and not actually further anything. One of the other things is I do need to set up a list of tests to experiment, in a list of and centered in importance, because there are things that I'm like, oh, this I do it because it's easy. There are stuff that needs to get done, but it's because it's easy, and I get like the endorphins from being like, oh, it's been done. Like I just get like, I guess maybe serotonin hit. Maybe that's what the like chemical is. I don't know. I'm a material scientist, not a biologist. One of the other things is dedicate like a 2-week roundup to my work, and that's another thing, so I can also see where I'm going and kind of be able to figure out, okay, how can I compile all my work together into a cohesive story? Because when writing in your PhD, you're trying to write a story. There should be an overarching theme with it, and like how you get from one spot to another. Like think of like the hero's journey kind of situation. With that, I'd heard this was a professor here at UK who she'd previously also worked in industry, doing like a 2-week roundup on things. And I get that a little bit with having a 2-month roundup for one of our meetings, but doing like a 2-week for myself, just to be like, okay, this is all the things that have been completed. Because some days it feels like I've done nothing since the last time I met with my committee, but I'm like, wait a second, I've done actually a decent amount of work. And then dedicating an hour to reading something, whether it be one of the magazines, something like I've got the Anthropocene Review that I still need to read, or reading a paper, like just reading and allowing myself to enjoy reading, because I did like reading. I'd spend like days where I just nonstop be reading. And so I need to allow myself that enjoyment again, because so much of my life has been not allowing myself to enjoy it and just be like, boom, 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 have to be doing something, have to be being productive, but I should allow myself to enjoy things. When in this whole thing, because they're using this analogy of road trips, are you somebody who takes the freeway or like do the scenic route? And I think I want to say I want to do the most efficient, because like it doesn't have to be the freeway. Sometimes it's not the freeway. Sometimes it's you're partially on the freeway and then suddenly you're taking a 1 lane each way through Amish country. That has happened. I went to MSNT, and to get to Pittsburgh, at least for us on Sunday afternoon, we were mostly on the freeway, and then we turn off at some point and we check it because Google Maps was telling us this was correct. We are going down Amish country. Like we're seeing the signs for it, and I'm there like, okay. One of the guys who I was driving with was checking to make sure that my phone had just not gone off the fritz, but no, it was correct. So I say most efficient, so sometimes that can be the more scenic route, because I do like driving back roads and everything. I've one time, don't recommend doing this, drove the back roads from Frankfurt to Louisville to get to the airport. Don't recommend doing that one. In that case, just do the freeway, it's fine. But yeah. I like to think I'd want to do the most efficient, because sometimes the most efficient can actually still be more scenic. Okay, the next one they have as a comments were landmarks. And this one, it's like, are you on the right road? And I think I am. A couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting of sorts with the woman that is the lab manager for the department, and she's asking about like, okay, how long does each person have in the group? And my advisor, like I had said, oh, middle end-ish, and my advisor's like, no, you're close to the end, which just was such a good ego boost for me to think like he thinks I'm on the right track for things. Because with him, he'll probably be the one to kind of say like, okay, I think we're at a good stopping point. Because if not, I'd probably just keep on going, which in some ways is great. In other ways, I'm like, I want to move on to the next step in my life. I see a lot of my friends start moving on to their next steps, and I want to be able to do that. I know for like landmarks that I have to hit, it's things like once I get my publications. Conferences are usually a good indicator to see of like what new research I can present at all of these, which has been really good because I've been like thinking through some more conferences and being like, okay, what can I talk about at this one? What can I talk about at that one? I've got 3 different abstracts at least that I've got to figure out in the next like month. The SWE conference has one that I need to write out. That one and the the World Congress on High-Entropy Alloys, both of their abstracts are due on June 15th, which I need to figure out. And then TMS 2024 is in July 1st. Although again, how TMS, like the organization generally, seems to be doing a lot of their abstracts, it's really annoying because they keep on being like, oh yeah, it's due this day, and then they push it like 2 weeks. And the thing is, sometimes you don't even realize it until like the day after the abstract was due that they've pushed it back, and you've spent until like 10 p.m. trying to write the abstract to make it work smoothly, because you initially were like, oh, things are gonna probably get pushed back, and you're like, wait, they didn't get pushed back, but they did get pushed back. Can you tell I was bitter about a couple of conference abstracts recently that have been very stressful? And also, when you sit in on those talks, oftentimes you actually realize how much more you understand after like each conference goes through, which I think has been great. But like I mentioned, it's hard to figure out exactly when you're done because there's always something more to explore, which is great. That's like the beauty of science, but it also means that it is a pain when you're just trying to figure out like, okay, this is done. I have my little corner of like scientific knowledge that I have dedicated my life to, and I've sent it out into the world. Yeah. The next step they had was timing. What time do you need to arrive? And like I mentioned, I kind of have a date set that like a general spacing time. But the thing is, I should do for myself also, like I mentioned, the 2-week roundup, also maybe making a 2-month roundup of like larger where it becomes a full presentation style. We do this typically with our, like for our contacts for our Army Research Lab project. We meet with them every 2 months, and I probably should do a larger thing for myself where I've compiled all of the results I have and be like, okay, this is everything in the past 2 months in nice graphs, kind of have things cleaned up, ready to go. So they're like in a presentation style, poster style thing. So I can, at a short notice, if I need to, send things off. I think that'd be good for myself to see also, because yeah, the 2 weeks, great thing to see. 2 months, again, builds up. So that would be like about 4 of those like 2-week things. But having that 2 month, because then also, if need be, have it as check-ins with my committee, even if it's just like privately, to be like, hey, just so a heads up, this is where I am at this point, so they get an idea. And I think for this next 2 months, the next goals I have, because I think that's a good thing, because it's the summer, I can just, I mean, as this past year I was also able to just solely focus on my work, but in the next 2 months work on things involving quasi-harmonic approximations, because there are a couple of different ways of doing quasi-harmonic approximations, and I have one idea. Like, I'm trying out one version, and I'll experiment with another version in a bit, work on that, and figuring out the shear stress, because I have some of the like results kind of, but I don't understand the equation that was used, and I'm wondering if I have to do extra steps to get a better understanding, because when I looked through the equations, one of the terms wasn't like super well defined in my opinion, but that kind of happens. And as we talked about with like, this is a project that like, it's myself. like the person doing every single step really, but I do have a lot of support, and you can't get through grad school without this support. You have support from your advisor, of course. Like I have mine from my advisor. He's an amazing advisor and I love being his student. I have support from my committee. They are a wonderful resource, great people to ask for things. One of the professors who's on my committee, he's effectively like a co-advisor, so he provides a lot of insight for me on like what the next steps are. I have support from my group, both previous members as well as current members. Especially one of the previous members, she gives me a lot of support and advice on things, as well as providing, like she's going to be teaching me some new techniques that she has learned recently because they can all interconnect and work well together. I have support from my friends both here in like Kentucky, my friends from Minnesota, my friends back home in California. I've got friends all over the place who are all supporting me. And then I have like my family, who I've got the family here. I've got my parents. My parents specifically are my two biggest supporters and cheerleaders, and they're the ones that like, my mom will listen to all my complaints. My dad gets so excited about all the work I do, and he's always asking questions and wants to learn more. It's really exciting. And like I've got some extended family here, and I have like the support of my department. I'm not like super close with a lot of the professors in the department, but like I chat with them and I joke because one of our chair seems to like, especially the first couple of times I interact with him, he always thought I was on the verge of tears because really the first time I talked with him was when I had helped proctor an exam for my advisor for his like intro to material science class, and the fire alarm went off during the final, and I took a student to one of the rooms to have like the private space because the student also needed an extended time, and then go to the department head and be like, so what is the protocol in case the fire alarm goes off? And he's just like, don't cry. I had a mask on because this would have been in December 2021, and I'm like, I'm not gonna cry. I just am like, what the heck is going on here? And he's laughing up a storm. And then he interacted with me, like the second time he interacted with me was when we were like, my advisor and I were trying to figure out why something was like going really wrong on my experiments, and then we're like, he's realizing, oh, we're using an older version of the software, and this one really turns out needs the nicer software. But yeah, I was just like, whoops. Yeah, but I have the support of my department. Yeah, it's just that whole thing. And then lastly, it's like fuel and spending. It's like additional thoughts. What else do you need to consider most? And as I kind of have alluded to before, I need to think about like not just putting all of my energy just into this PhD and putting all of my the source of my happiness into my work, which I can find joy and happiness from my work, but I shouldn't just derive it from that, because then once it's over, I'm just gonna be like, what's next? Which I'm already starting to feel. And I need to get out more and find joy and happiness from other things. Like I've started to be like, oh, what if I get into like hiking? Which maybe I will. That'll be fun. Although the problem is right now I can't walk properly. I broke my toe 2 weeks ago, and I'm still like recovering from that one. Cause yeah, for those again in material science, I effectively did the Sharpie test with my toe. It was bad. It was very bad. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll do that, or maybe I just need to get out and do stuff where it's not dedicated to just graduate school, because I have found, especially in this past like 7 months, it was back when I went home for Christmas, that I have spent almost all of my time as a graduate student. And I don't know how to live without just talking about my research or interacting. I need to get hobbies. And also, I haven't actually drunk any of my coffee while I was doing this. Coffee is tasting good though. I hope you guys liked this little kind of chat of where I'm thinking and these steps I've spoken out. Hopefully with me speaking them out, it will manifest. I will actually do all these things. But yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!